Ever wonder if your good sleep is actually good? Let's dive into these two trackers to find out. I've been tracking my sleep for the past 10 years, but it's only recently that I've actually gotten a hold of how I should be sleeping and how much I should be sleeping. There are many things that we could do to improve our sleep health, but these are the few that have actually worked for me over the past 5 years or so while I've struggled with my sleep and my sleep routine. I used to be a night owl and I used to work all the time at night and have no routine whatsoever. I used to eat at whatever times I wanted and my body would not recover. But I couldn't really pinpoint exactly why that was happening. I did not realize that sleeping is 1/3 of our lifetime and we need to focus on improving various aspects of it, including not just the environment we sleep in, but also the time we spend sleeping. It's also getting into the nuances of what's happening throughout the night that's important for you to learn. And that's where these two trackers have come in over the years. I used to track my sleep using the Meta Watch and then the Pebble. I moved on to tracking it with the Apple Watch, but over the past few years, I've been using the Whoop and the Whoop and the Oura Ring to actually get more deep insights into my sleep. Today, we'll dig deeper into which one works for what intents, and then we can find out which one's the best for you. Why does sleep tracking actually matter? There are three things which tell us why sleep tracking is so important. The first one being it allows us to be healthier and have a better functioning immune system, and that's how you can actually improve your health and overall performance day to day. The second one is tracking your sleep data can actually flag early health problems or issues that might be coming up, whether it's using your body temperature or the change that's happening every single night. If you're tracking your sleep over a period of time, you can actually see early warning signs on any other medical conditions which might come up in your day to day, and you might not even realize that that's happening in your body. And three, why tracking matters is actually to help you schedule a better routine for sleep. It's essentially why do you track your steps, or why do you track every single thing that you do every single day? Why do you like the foods that you like? Why do you order the same things again when you're eating? It's about how do you improve your habits so that you can get a better night's more restful sleep every single night. How can you optimize for your sleeping without actually learning what's going on when you are sleeping? Because essentially you are out. If there's no one else keeping an eye on you when you are sleeping, how can you keep an eye on yourself to make sure that you do the best thing possible for every single night of your life? How do you make sure that you can actually get the best night's sleep possible? And these are things which have been researched by both the scientists at Aura and Whoop, and everyone in the world essentially talks about these things. The three things which I'm talking about include consistency of my sleeping routine, the environment in which I'm sleeping in, and the third one is just changing my lifestyle and tweaking things a little bit so that I can have a more regular and consistent sleep. So what do I mean when I say consistency? I simply mean that you should have around the same time of sleep every single night. Your bedtime should essentially remain the same, and for me that is anywhere from 10:30 to 11:30 every single day. The way for me to actually be able to fix it was to wake up at the same time. It does not matter how hard it was. I had to force myself to actually do it at 6 a.m. every single day, and I had to do that for a period of 6 to 8 weeks before my body kicked in and my body clock had to reset itself. People say that it can take a week, 2 weeks. Honestly, I would recommend that you try it for 8 weeks, and you have to do it to wake up every single morning at the same time. It does not matter whether you slept at 11, it does not matter whether you slept at 2 o'clock. If you're waking up at 6 and you're fixing your sleep routine, the only way to fix it is to wake up at that time. That's consistency. The second one is your environment. And everyone says that the environment in which you sleep in should be completely dark, void of light, no screens in your bedroom, and also a couple of degrees lower temperature at nights to get you better sleep. Uh, in today's world, it's really hard to not have your phone nearby. It's really hard to sometimes have a completely pitch black environment. But if you can have those things, it will definitely help you get a better sleep. And the third one is just lifestyle tweaks. Having basic lifestyle tweaks, such as not having a big meal closer to bedtime, say 3 hours before bedtime, or not having caffeine after 2 o'clock in the afternoon. These things which you're putting in your body essentially change the way your metabolism affects your sleep every single night. And if you can slowly shift those things around, you'll actually notice a big difference in the amount of sleep you're getting, and also the quality of restfulness that you feel every single day after you've done these changes. Again, the recommendation is to do this at least for 2 weeks in terms of food and also caffeine intake, and you will start noticing various things change in terms of how fresh you feel every single morning after a good night's rest. So let's look at the two trackers which we have today. We have the Oura ring, which comes in as a ring form factor and has been around for a long period of time. I've had this ring for 2 years now. I'm on the generation 3. They just came out with generation 4. It's to be worn on your index finger or your middle finger, and that's where they say that they get the best tracking. They have sensors at the bottom side of it. In the new generation, there are no sensors that are sticking out, so it feels a lot nicer. This is made of titanium, so it's super light. On the other hand, the Whoop is a wristband which can actually be worn on your bicep as well. It's been around almost the same time. This is on the 4th generation as well. So you can actually take the wristband off and you can slide off some of these things to have different form factors for the Whoop. But I like the Whoop for its form factor. And Oura has been an interesting form factor for me. I used to enjoy wearing this every single day just because how minimal this is. As far as the data goes, both of these trackers end up tracking my various sleep stages. They track REM, they track light sleep, they track deep sleep, they track the awake time. And along with that, they also track my heart rate variability, heart rate, and also body temperature. So they have a lot of similar data points for them to actually give me insights on my sleep. And you'll see when we look at the data for me for the past 2 years, you'll notice that that's actually very, very similar in terms of how they are tracking the sleep. It's the amount of time is similar, the amount of time in REM versus deep versus awake is actually incredibly similar, just because they're using same kinds of sensors to detect that. And even though these might not be clinically accurate to 100%, but they are accurate to a certain degree where you can actually get more insights into what's happening when you're sleeping. So the recommendation is, even if you say that they're not clinically correct, they are correct enough that they actually get you to a point where you can start improving and seeing results for your sleep. Right, let's get into the apps and their overall structure. We look at Oura and Whoop side by side to help you understand how they are for you guys in various categories. Let's look at their approach. Oura comes in with a very data-centric approach, and their focus is on raw metrics, heart rate variability, sleep stages. They present numbers first and also sort of encourage user-driven interpretations of the numbers. They don't really give you direct indications of what you are doing good versus wrong. They just show you the numbers based on your historical data, what has been tracked. They are focused on the numbers being front and center in front of you. So Whoop comes in from a different perspective. They are data driven, and they capture the same type of data as we've talked about before, but their approach is more coaching centric. They focus on advice and actions that you can take each day, and they're built around optimizing workouts and recovery. So even though they have sleep tracking and strain, but I feel like their focus has been more on the recovery side of things and the strain workout side of things. You can see that the views also look very different between strain, recovery, sleep, because they've optimized for strain and recovery rather than only focusing on sleep. In terms of visuals for the sleep, I get to see all of my metrics related to sleep, whether it's total sleep, efficiency, restfulness, REM, deep sleep, latency, and timing, quickly in this sleep contributor section. And then if I go further down, I just see a single timeline of what my sleep is. Clearly, I did not get a lot of good sleep last night, but it shows me a single timeline of my REM sleep, my deep sleep, light, and awake moments across this. I can go in deeper and see various sleep stages, but this gives me a quick glance of when I was moving and when I was awake. So, awake moments don't necessarily always happen when I'm moving. So, in this case, I was in light sleep and I was still moving, but this gives me a consolidated view of what my timeline looked like for my sleep cycle. You would also notice that I have heart rate variability and heart rate variability separately. And as I get closer to the morning, my heart rate variability ends up getting higher versus my heart rate becoming lower, the lowest point being 61 and average also at 69. So this gives me a quick indication of whether I was rested or not rested, stressed, not stressed. Higher heart rate variability means I am rested, lower heart rate variability means I'm not, and higher heart rate is stressed versus not stressed. Oxygenation is as good as it can be, but it does try to give me some indications on what I should be doing. Single view gives me a quick glance of what's happening with my sleep. As far as the visuals go for sleep, it's everything, all the data is consolidated on the home tab and you can navigate to everything very quickly. However, it can feel very overwhelming if I want to go into sleep. So if I look at my sleep for last night, it's similar to what Aura was saying, 5 hours, 16 minutes, how much of my restorative sleep that I got. But they give me separate numbers for awake, light, deep REM, and they don't mark it directly on the graph. This is a heart rate graph which is being displayed to me. Doesn't really tell me a lot with this. If I tap on any of these, it does tell me at what points in time I was awake versus light versus deep versus REM, but still doesn't show me any movement which was happening. It only gives me data for heart rate, not even heart rate variability. So it could be a little complicated to actually interpret what this graph is. It's a less unified version. It does have more data, but it's a little bit harder for me to interpret. It shows me the wake events per hour, doesn't show me where those wake events happened. It does show me the wake events directly here, but they could have easily marked those here. There's also no data point where I can actually see my heart rate variability and how that changed overnight, because heart rate variability is a very important factor along with heart rate to measure. They have the data, they just haven't exposed that for me to look at. Looking at the community and social aspects of Aura, there aren't a lot. Aura's focus is more on you competing with yourself rather than anyone else outside. You can actually create circles with your family members or your friends, and these are invite only circles which show you very less detail around what's been happening on their end. It gives you very basic data visibility, and it's focused on more privacy and you competing with yourself, with your historical self, rather than you competing with anyone else. The community and social aspect of Whoop is that they're completely open and they are looking at people worldwide. So it's suitable for larger teams or sort of semi-public leaderboard environment. You have access to athletes, and it also helps you foster a more social and competitive atmosphere. Gamification is incredibly strong with the Whoop community, versus in Aura, it's more focused on individuals and your close circle. So I can go in into Canada and see what my recovery looked like. So my rank is 3000 for Canada in terms of strain for yesterday. Recovery is 2000 over whatever amount of people are competing in Canada. Same for sleep, I'm at 3000, but it shows me what my rank is, 3000 out of 14,000 and 34,000 over 126,000 people who are actually in those teams. In terms of data and insights, historical data, as I mentioned, is emphasized. And trends over time for both readiness and sleep are what's been shared. The encouragement which happens from Aura's end is more around self monitoring and habit adjustments. It does tell you that it's time to go to bed or I could go to sleep early. It does tell me what my typical body clock looks like. So typically, my sleep time is around 11:30. Yesterday was an outlier where I slept a little bit later, but my wake up time still continued to be in the same range. So it does tell me what happened and what changed, and I can obviously look at my timeline to update it or make any other changes which I feel fit. For Whoop, they track past data, but they're also focused on what my week looks like ahead, what's the planning for the future, and they have journaling built in, so I can actually journal various things as to what happened, what did not happen. So I can customize my journal and I can add other insights as to what happened, what I did, and based off of that I can actually build a plan for what I should be doing. I used to use this feature initially, but because I have to do this every single night, it became very tiresome to do this every single morning. When I wake up, I go into the app, I'm only looking at my data, and I don't want to be adding a lot of this journal. A lot of people might find it helpful, and it was interesting for me in the beginning, but slowly it became a burden rather than something which I would want to do. What about subscription? So both Aura and Whoop have a monthly subscription. In terms of Aura, I also have an upfront cost for the ring, which you need to pay for. However, what that leads to is that the app feels incredibly clean and void of any other upsell that would happen. I only see my data, and the focus is clearly on what my body is trying to tell me with the ring. Whoop also comes in as a subscription. However, there is no upfront cost on the hardware. The hardware is included as part of the first year subscription, which is why I look at a lot of these sections coming up in the app, which is refer a friend or share a free trial. Somehow they want to also focus on building the community. Almost everywhere I see a shop, I see gift a membership, get one free month, extend membership. Some of these various upsell elements come up into my view, which I don't necessarily like, but I understand where Whoop is coming from. They want to build that community and they want me to share this with people around me so they can also be part of this uh, open, competitive, gamified environment. Is there any coaching or any planning? Simply put, Aura does not have any of that. You can add meditation or any other activities which you might be doing within Aura, the app, but that's clearly not their focus. Their roadmap typically includes incremental improvements to data dashboard and emphasis on refining this readiness score and sleep analytics. That's what their roadmap has been over the years. I used to prefer their previous version of this app where they did not have this sort of highlights, but I've gotten used to this new update also. They've added this new vitals tab as well, which gives me a quick glance of what's happening today, gives me a quick glance of what happened yesterday. So yesterday my activity goal was great, but today my activity goal hasn't gotten to the point where I would like it to be. Whoop offers a journaling option, gives me personalized suggestions for workouts, for bedtime, for future developments aim at a deeper community integration. So actually, I can go in, look at who did what, I get to see what activity they're doing, and based off of this, I get to see a deeper insight into people who are leading the charts. Aura does not do any of this. Aura does not show any of this to me. Aura only focuses on what you've been doing. And this profile doesn't have enough data, but Jody, for example, shows me exactly what's been going on for them. And I can look at what their activities have been uh, compared to what usually happens. So this is interesting for people who are competing, who are trying to compete with others. For me, that's not the case. I don't want to be looking at anyone else's data. I want to be looking at my data and compete with myself, with my historical self, rather than anyone else. What's Aura good for? It's good for individuals who are looking for a very private, data driven approach. People comfortable interpreting their own graphs and focusing on self improvement rather than competing with anyone else. The focus on Aura is very individualistic versus community. I feel like Whoop is best for athletes or more performance oriented users seeking coaching and social motivation, people who thrive on group accountability and getting detailed training data rather than focusing on their individual personal data set. It's super interesting. I was actually talking to one of the scientists at Aura a few months ago. They actually recommended 5 things that I should be focusing on to have a better tracking on how I'm sleeping. The first thing that they mentioned for me to look at when I'm tracking or trying to improve my sleep is sleep duration. And yes, it's been told to us by our parents, by our grandparents, that we should be sleeping at least 8 hours every single night. And it had a similar pattern which Aura's guys also recommended to me. It was anywhere from 7 to 9 hours every single night. So sleep duration and making sure that you're getting enough sleep every single day is very important. Both the Whoop and the Aura also recommend this in each of their apps. The second thing which we should be keeping track of when we are actually looking at your own sleep tracking every single day, it's improving efficiency. And what do I mean by that? Both of these trackers have a metric to track how many times I've actually woken up every single night. So if we can reduce the number of waking up, that's also something that helps us get better sleep. It's less interruptions, it's more time for your body to get into a deep rest mode, and hence you actually enjoy readiness or sort of more energy the next morning. The third one is heart rate and heart rate variability. These two indicators are actually well-known indicators for stress and relief. So if you are getting a high heart rate versus a low heart rate, that can indicate how much stressed you are or how much restful your sleep was. And on the contrary, if you have high heart rate variability, that also shows a lot of recovery. So tracking these two metrics closely, along with the times when you are actually awake or when you are in deep sleep versus REM sleep, can give you close indicators on what kind of sleep you've been getting every single night. So heart rate and heart rate variability are also two other metrics which have to be monitored closely, along with your various sleep stages. Fourth one, it's the consistency. We talked about how consistency actually can help you be more rested in the morning. So making sure that you're sleeping around the same time and you're also waking up around the same time, it's going to help you realize that you can actually be more active and have more energy in the day if you're doing that. It does not need to be at the exact same time, but what you'll realize is that you start waking up without an alarm clock just because your body's internal clock has actually shifted its metric and you are waking up around the same time. I wake up around 6 a.m. and sometimes it's a little bit before 6, sometimes it's a little bit after 6. But as long as you can teach your body to wake up around the time you need to wake up, you would be absolutely fine. I have used alarms in between intermittently just because I had to catch a flight or I had to travel. And in those days, it's been super simple to wake up at the designated time, just because my body is already getting prepared to wake up around those times. The last one, which the scientist told me, was monitoring change in body temperature. And both of these can actually do that. They track your temperature using your skin. And any fluctuations in your body temperature can actually indicate whether you were sick or a sickness is sort of oncoming. I got the flu a couple of weeks ago, and that essentially was easily I could see that that was happening even before my body could tell me that that was happening. I could see that my body temperature was a little bit higher, and my body was already fighting some sort of infection even before I actually had any other symptoms around it. So my body temperature was higher at night for a couple of nights before I started feeling symptoms of my sinuses getting inflamed or any other sort of congestion that was coming up. But tracking your body temperature and comparing it every single night can actually help you. So these trackers don't give you actual temperature, it only gives you change in body temperature from your baseline, because every single person's temperature is a little bit different every single day. These guys essentially set a baseline for the first 5 to 10 days when you're actually wearing these, and then after that they can tell you how much your body temperature has been changing over the course of you wearing and tracking your sleep trackers. So what's the final verdict? From my experience, I like the simplicity of the app experience which Aura provides us, but I also prefer the Whoop's wearability. So I am in this split situation where I like one thing from Aura and the other from Whoop. But remember, it's not just about logging hours, it's about improving your overall health. So which device should you choose? In the end, it doesn't matter whether it's a ring or a wristband. It's important to track your sleep, to use that knowledge and build better habits. You spend a third of your life sleeping. Why not take charge and make that third work for you?